Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. My name is Thomas the Human Bard, and I am joined by.
Onog the half-orc barbarian.
You like that? That was all in one breath. I'm getting pretty.
Was it?
Pretty quick with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this is an episode where we are doing a side quest where
Radiant
we are
side quest.
Radiant side quest where we are discussing the Unearthed Arcana that just released about new and updated class feature options and replacements for D&D 5th edition. We have already discussed the Bard, the Barbarian, the Cleric. We are now discussing the Druid. Let's see. Let's check out what they did to the Druid here. Okay, the Druid starts off with Cantrip Versatility, which the Cleric also got, which means every time you gain a level, you have the option to replace a cantrip with another one from your Druid spell list.
Undoing your crippling mistakes of the past.
Yes. When you go, wait a minute, I've never once used this cantrip in my entire life, then you can fix that. Druid spell enhanced spell casting feature adds more spells to their spell list. A couple of these being like a lot of them being Xanathar's Guide spells, which I really like, but quite a few of them being things that do, yet again, we mentioned this last time, make sense that these should have sort of always been a thing for druids.
Particularly, I would like to draw attention to the third level spells in that the druid gets Revivify, which is something that I assumed druids already had and have been running my campaign of what we've been doing it for 3 years now?
Yeah.
Running my campaign of 3 years under the assumption that one of the druids in our class, under the assumption that the druid in our party could cast Revivify at any point and save any of the characters. This turns out that has not been true, and that I have been playing a very dangerous game with these players.
We have been running the knife's edge, to say.
The fact that all of you are still here is a mystery beyond all understanding.
Especially because my character has a pretty strong martyr death wish and has often jumped directly into danger.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, the druid can cast Revivify on him and save him, and that has not been the case.
That has not been true. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, a lot of good stuff in here. I like there's an addition of a couple of new fire spells, which druids already get a couple of interesting fire spells. They get they get one of
the better cantrip. It's just produce flame.
Produce flame.
It is one of the more
that's
versatile.
Inherent to druids. Yeah.
They get one of the most versatile cantrips in that it can be used as a ranged attack. It's not as powerful as Firebolt, but it can be used as a ranged attack or a melee attack, which is really cool and really useful.
Or as a torch.
Or it's just a source of light in your hand that you can hold. It's a really cool spell.
Just makes fire. It's a great spell. And they have Wall of Fire and other fire things, depending on
But now they get Fire Shield, Immolation, Incendiary Cloud.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Your druid can now commit war crimes.
Well, maybe they shouldn't do that. They also get Power Word Heal.
A thing that we thought they already had.
A thing that we thought, surely they must already have that. No, they don't. They could cast Reincarnate, but they could not cast Power Word Heal. Interesting. They also get Mass Polymorph from Xanathar's Guide, which...
Another thing that I thought that they would have already had. Because they get true polymorph, so I don't know why they wouldn't have gotten mass polymorph when it was printed in Xanathar's, but apparently they didn't. Apparently I need to read my books 8 more times in order to remember all of this information.
There's no way a single person can hold it all in their mind, and if there's any example of that...
I will achieve this.
No, I'm saying if there's an example that no one person can remember all of it at once, read any of Jeremy Crawford's tweets in which he tries to
explain a rule.
Argue a rule that could almost make sense, but then even he has forgotten some obscure interaction, and someone points it out to him later. Yeah. All right, the next feature enhances your wild shape with Wild Companion.
Well, yeah.
You gain the ability to summon a spirit that assumes an animal form. As an action, you can expend a use of your wild shape feature to cast the Find Familiar spell without material components. When you cast the spell this way, the familiar is a fae instead of a beast, and the familiar disappears after a number of hours equal to half your druid level.
So
Yeah.
this is a very interesting change, or more accurately, an addition, because when I originally made Onog, we were playing 3.5 edition. And when my DM made the switch over to 5th edition, one of the druids in our party had an animal companion, which
Because that was a big part of druids
it was
for
a
a long
big
time.
part of the druid class features in 3.5. And they had a little owl, and he was very cute. And Onog didn't like him, but I think he's hilarious. But it's one of those things that when we made the switch over, that wasn't present in the druid class at all. And so he stopped providing any useful abilities because it's like, well, I can't give you a beast companion because then the beast companion will get jealous.
Yeah,
Because
the Beastmaster Ranger.
The Beastmaster Ranger also took a huge downturn from what he was able to do in 3.5. And this kind of like gives them that little animal companion back.
Yeah.
And that you can just summon it. And it's also one of those things that kind of gives Circle of the Land druids something to do with their wild shape other than I turn into a tiny useless animal. That's now I can summon a tiny useless animal.
Well, I mean, don't underestimate the Find Familiar
But that's the thing,
spell.
is Find Familiar is so much more useful than just randomly having an animal. You can cast touch spells. It's literally says you cast Find Familiar, so that comes with all of the benefits of having a familiar. And it's without components, so it doesn't cost anything. The spell Find Familiar normally takes like 10 minutes to an hour. No, it takes an hour. And so like you can cast Find Familiar as an action. This is a very good buff.
Yeah, I think one of the parts of this that not a lot of people have considered is just the fact that it separates your wild shape from you, that it is now two beings. That normally if it's like we need a bird to look down on them and like spy out the camp, normally the druid would say, I'll wild shape into a bird and I'll fly over the camp and look down on it. But that does make the druid vulnerable by putting them into danger sometimes.
Additionally, at lower levels, druids can't turn into things that can fly. But with
it's true.
They can summon an owl that they can see through.
Yep.
After second level, they can provide that versatility and utility that wasn't available to them before, or that used to be available to them, no longer was, and now they can provide it again.
And because that animal companion isn't you, and it doesn't use your the problems of wild shape, which are that you can't cast spells while you're in wild shape and things like that, you can be doing your druid stuff while your animal goes off and does the things you would have to also be doing normally, like spying out the camp or whatever. You can just send your bird to go do that while you cast other druid spells that you want to be actively casting.
Right.
And that split of one person into two to accomplish almost like twice as many things at once, I think, is super useful.
Well, and this is once again kind of like one of those things where it's like, why didn't druids have Find Familiar? That's like their
Why
thing.
Wasn't that on the spell
list? Why wasn't that already on their
Yeah.
spell list? But now that it's like, oh, now you have like super Find Familiar with different downsides.
Yeah. I really like this though. I think this is one of the most like succinct but complex adjustments to one of the classes.
It's a very almost simple way to address a problem without causing more problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's so sick. I also like having more bodies in a battlefield is also almost always better than having one really big body in a battlefield,
right,
because of how D&D's action economy works and how things...
Which is something I refuse to learn when setting up combat scenarios.
Look, it'll probably work itself out. It'll be fine. But there's also all kinds of benefits from having more bodies on a battlefield with other people's abilities, like barbarian abilities that give them an advantage based on if they have someone nearby, if there's another person nearby the enemy you're fighting, or rogues that need advantage for sneak attack, and so
you can send
having
in your
someone
little
nearby.
owl,
Yeah, like all of that, having two people in the space that used to be one really benefits your group a lot as a whole, as well as allowing you, if you're a Circle of the Land Druid, to use the spells you took and not feel like you're forced to use your wild shape on something, because if you're not using it, you're kind of wasting it, right?
Yeah,
And
this gives them a great opportunity to use a resource that has been given to them that up until now has only been moderately useful to them.
yeah, kind of situationally. If you want to turn into a small animal,
Go ahead.
sometimes. Sure.
But now you can turn into a small animal and also have a small animal.
Oh, you have two wild shapes. You can be a cat and make a cat. Mm-hmm. Very good.
But that's
very
like,
good.
just imagine the fun scenarios that could come out with that. You know, it's like you turn into a cat and you summon your fey cat, and you both go different directions when you're being chased by the cops, and it's like, yeah, catch me now.
Which
And
one was which?
they chase down the wrong cat, and then it just disappears when they try to kill it. You know.
Is Find Familiar obviously magical? I don't remember.
If
in
you
the
were to
spell, it
cast
describes
Detect
it as
Magic on it,
such.
you would see it.
No, yeah, I know, but I mean, without Detect Magic, I can't remember if it's like
the
has
rules
any
don't
sort
state.
of.
So like, it's one of those things where you can kind of decide how it looks, and like
Yeah.
in some versions of it, it's like a part of you. It's like a spectral creature that you are summoning to serve you, so you can change how it looks. So like, you could literally make it look exactly how you look when you're in wild beast form, and just
That's so good.
like I
love
want that to happen where it's like, I am two cats. That is my character arc.
I am a swarm of bats.
I am several owls. Oh no. Okay, so it was the joke with the Raven Queen warlock patron, where it's like you can summon a raven and also cast Find Familiar to summon a raven, and you can turn into a raven. But now the druids can just do it with whatever they want.
Can you... One second. Let me look up... I'm looking up Find Familiar to make sure that I know how it works. Conjuration, summoning, instantaneous. Aha! You can't have more than one familiar at a time.
Yeah, you can't have more than one familiar.
Dang. I was like, hey man, if you've got like 4 wild shapes, just burn them all on making cats.
But it's like, no, you can cast Conjure Animals to summon 8 owls.
What about conjure woodland beings?
Conjure Woodland Beings summons specific fey creatures. Conjure Animals summons beasts that are fey. And so you could conjure 8 cats, find familiar a cat, and then turn into a cat to become 10 cats.
10 cats. How does this fit with the Swarm Keeper Ranger?
You eat all the squirrels that are hiding in his pants.
But can you turn into squirrels and blend in with his swarm
Yeah,
of squirrels?
hide amongst his squirrels.
A party of all squirrels. Like, you find a way to make everyone in your party, like the bard polymorphs himself into a squirrel. Like, everyone becomes a
Behold,
squirrel.
we are the squirrels.
That's great. Oh man, what do you think of this druid overall? There's not a lot, but this
yeah.
wild companion I think is one of the best features we've looked at.
Yeah,
so
it
far.
is. It is one of the best features. It doesn't break anything, and it doesn't really steal away from what once was just a wizard ability, kind of a thing.
For sure.
It just kind of makes it its own.
Just adds new complexity and variety.
It's kind of
so
what
good.
we talked about. How like oh gosh, no, I lost my train of thought. But it takes something that was once somebody else's and puts its own spin on this cool ability that's kind of been missing from the druid.
Yeah, I think it brings it back to its roots a little bit. Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right, thanks for listening, travelers. Hope you liked it. Comment below with what you think of these changes to the druid class, and hit that like button. Smash that like button.
Don't break the button. You'll have to buy
Smash
a new mouse.
Smash it.
Just click it. Just once.
Smash.
That's all we ask. Well, once every video.
And stay tuned. If you click it twice, does it go away? Does it negate
I
itself?
think it does.
Okay, click it an odd number of times. stay right there. The next video is coming up. We're going to be talking about the fighter, the changes to the fighter. And until then, keep on adventuring.